Hello and welcome back to Crypto Saving Experts, where we talk about the latest cryptocurrency news and take a look at the markets so that we all know exactly what is happening. My name is Jess and we do these live streams every single weekday. So if you wouldn't mind, please make sure to like, subscribe and hit that bell notification button. We need to talk about what's happening with Bitcoin right now because it's above that $47,800 level today. We are down slightly, 1% within the last 24 hours, but we will be discussing why today, and we'll take a look at Ethereum as well. So right now, Ethereum is trading at $2,480, down 2% within the last 24 hours, but both have seen a nice little pump. So let's talk about all of this today. We've got some cryptocurrency news in store, and we'll do some analysis. Let's take a look, first of all, what's going in the chat this morning. Good morning, Randy. Good morning, Monkey Nuts. Good morning, PG. Thank you very much for tuning in once again. We're on 9 likes for today's stream. Let's hit a like goal of 40 likes. Let's try 40 likes. We got about 850 views on Wednesday's stream last week. Let's beat that this week. Let's try and beat that. Let's take a look at what's going on here. We are also going to discuss the title of today's video because some analysts are saying $112,000 Bitcoin is likely in 2024. Now, I did give my opinions on this on Friday, but we will discuss this in a little bit more detail today because this is a higher price prediction than what analysts were saying on Friday. Let's take a look here at what's going on. So biggest gainers of the day, we're looking at Bitcoin Cash up over 5%. And in terms of biggest losers, we've got FTX and Huobi's tokens there at the top, over 8% for both of those. And we are seeing ICP down almost over 6% as well. So we are seeing some volatility in the markets, but after a nice move to the upside. So it can be expected here. Look, in the last week, Bitcoin is up 11%. It's down 1% within the last day, and that's fine. That's allowed. We'll let it off. If we take a look at what's going on here on the chart, I've not touched any of these lines this morning. This is the exact same as what we had on Friday. You can see that we have hit that level of resistance that we were looking at almost that $49,000 level. So Bitcoin has had a massive run to the upside when concerns were really beginning to show. Now, my concerns aren't completely removed from the situation. We are still 2 months away from the Bitcoin halving. We've got 62 days until the Bitcoin halving. And with that in mind, the next couple of months are expected to be slightly bearish and to contain a lot of sideways action. Now, this isn't 100% certain. This is all just going off previous cycles, but this is what we have seen historically. So this is still what I am expecting, despite this move to the upside. Now, the more resistances we break, the more that kind of promise or that kind of outlook becomes invalidated. So we do need to be aware of that, and this is why I always say I dollar cost average in, I dollar cost average out, so that I'm happy in both directions. If the price of Bitcoin goes up, I've taken advantage of the opportunity. If it goes down, I can take more advantage of the opportunity, essentially. So right now, Bitcoin is at that $47,800 level. It's touched this level of resistance. If I were to zoom in and look at smaller time frames, we'll be able to find some levels of support, which we did do this on Friday's stream as well. You can see that we used this $47,000 level as a level of resistance back in January, and we've used that as a level of support here in the recent move to the upside. So I definitely say this is a significant level at $47,080, and as well at $47,500, since we did see a little bit of resistance there on the way up. But right now, we are kind of in new territory for this cycle. We will have some resistance and support from the previous cycle at these price points, but right now we are kind of in that new zone for this year. Let's see what's going on. Bina says, have you guys seen the Bitcoin chart? It broke through the first support 15 minutes ago. I hope it wouldn't crack the second line of support, or we have to rethink our strategies. So let's take a look at what's going on here. If we take a look at the smaller time frame, yes, it does look like on the 15-minute chart, we have broken through a level of previous support here. But this is on the smaller time frame. As I always say, the bigger the time frame, the more accurate it will be, and the better your analysis will be. But if we're looking at the 15-minute chart here, we have broken through a level of support. Use that as a level of resistance. That is currently at $48,000. But on the bigger time frames, this is still healthy price action. Bitcoin's had a straight line to the upside, and what we're seeing here is a small pullback. If we start to use this previous level of resistance as a support, this can give us more confidence in the Bitcoin price. So we need to be aware of this. In kind of my honest perspective on what's going on in the markets, taking to account what point of the cycle we are, I'm feeling like we could see some sideways action and some bearish momentum over the next 2 months. But if we are purely going off what the chart is showing right now, we have had a run to the upside. We have created some levels of support that were previously acting as a level of resistance at that $47,080 level. And we are now experiencing a little bit of a pullback. So if we use this pullback to again make previous levels of resistance now act as a support, that is just strengthening the Bitcoin price. So there are two conflicting kind of biases to be looking at there when you're taking a look at the Bitcoin chart here and when you're taking a look at what point of the cycle we are. And I think it's important to consider both and remember the time frame of the charts that we are looking at here. Another thing to note is when we take a look at the S&P 500, we've got an article on this. Here we go. You can see the stock market is performing incredibly well and there are some correlations here. So let's take a look through this article here before we continue on with today's cryptocurrency news. Before we do continue, please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that bell notification button. It helps the channel grow. We want to see the channel hit 100,000 subscribers in 2024 and we need your help to do so. So please make sure to interact with today's stream as much as possible and let's try and hit that like goal of 40 likes today. Let's see what's going on in this article here. So Bitcoin logs biggest weekly gain since October as S&P 500 tops 5k. So the S&P 500 looks expensive relative to bonds, but that does not imply risk aversion or outflow of money from stocks and crypto and into treasury notes. Bitcoin surged over 13% last week to register its best performance since October. The AI-led surge in the S&P 500 is supportive of the bullish momentum in the crypto market. Bulls seem to be dominating the supposedly risky corners of the financial market. Bitcoin, the leading cryptocurrency market value, rose nearly 13.5% to $48,300 in the 7 days to February the 12th, the biggest single week gain since October last year. Now, the rally happened as continued inflows into the US-based spot Bitcoin ETFs likely overshadows reports of bankrupt crypto ledger Genesis seeking approval to liquidate its Bitcoin holdings. The S&P 500 Wall Street Benchmark Equity Index rose for the fifth week, closing above the $5,000 mark for the first time on record. Now, we have seen a director of derivatives, Greg McGadini, the boom in AI-related stocks has driven the index higher. So he said, it's hard to say that AI is overvalued. We're really at the beginning of the AI story and an explosion of adoption. How do you value the future of AI? It's definitely unknown. In my opinion, crypto is in a similar position. It is likely a complement to AI technology, given decentralization, on-chain data assets, and the unknowable future use cases. So what we're seeing here is the S&P 500 is up at an all-time high, and with that, we are going to see Bitcoin and other assets pump as well, because there is some correlation there. Now, we can see here shares in NVIDIA, which are already up over 40% for the year, are leading the AI-led rally in stocks. Some observers are of the opinion that stocks look expensive, as the S&P 500 equity risks per premium has dropped to its lowest since at least 2003, and there are some concerns here that we're going to see a top forming here and we may see some problems when it comes to the S&P 500. We're at an all-time high, so we need to be cautious here of what's around the corner and the impact that can have on the Bitcoin price as well, because as we know, there is some correlation between the two prices. Let's continue on here though, taking a look at the price of Bitcoin. I just wanted to point that out there because these rallies do coincide together, and we need to be aware of what's going on outside of cryptocurrency. I think it's very easy to be looking narrowly at what's going on in crypto because there's so much in this space, but we need to remember to take a look at what's going on elsewhere and the correlations that it has and the effects that it has. So before we continue with today's stream, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button. Rob C says, good morning on this sunny winter morning. It is a lovely, lovely day today. Nice and sunny. It's still a little bit cold, warmer than usual though. I've had my nice walk this morning, got the vitamin D, ready for the day, ready to attack the week. Let's take a look at what's going on with the CME chart here today. So this is what we wanted to discuss. So if we go onto the daily chart, you can see we didn't really create a gap this weekend at all. If you take a look, the wick for Friday reached all the way up to 48,525, and we started today at 48,480. So no CME gap to be worried about this week. If there is one, we will be discussing it. So make sure to tune in every single Friday and Monday when we take a look at the CME chart and see what's in store, and every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because we do these live streams every single weekday. Make sure to tune in every single day. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification button, comment down below, interact as much as possible, and it helps the stream more than you can imagine. Let's take a look at what's going on in the chat. The humbled one says $200,000 Bitcoin by November 2024. Interesting statistic, and this is something we are going to be talking about right now. Let's take a look at this. Bitcoin, and let's pull up the article before I try and guess what the article says. Here we go. Bitcoin ETF flows. No, this isn't the one we want. This is not the one we want. Which is the one we want? Well, this isn't going to plan. Oh, here we go. It is the one we want. Bitcoin ETF flows could propel Bitcoin prices to $112,000 this year, according to CryptoQuant. So, spot Bitcoin ETFs have amassed more than 192,000 Bitcoin in holdings as of Friday since their launch nearly a year ago. So we are seeing a huge amount of inflows into these ETF products, these exchange traded funds. I'm sure all of us know what an ETF is now, but essentially issuers like BlackRock and Fidelity have made funds where they just accumulate Bitcoin. People can invest into these ETFs like they do a normal stock and get exposure to Bitcoin's volatility. And they are saying, analysts are looking at this and saying, look, these ETF issuers are buying Bitcoin and storing it away, and they're buying it at a fast rate because of the amount of demand with these ETFs. And what we're looking at here is, if they continue to buy this Bitcoin, the amount of Bitcoin available on exchanges is going to decline. We don't have an infinite supply of Bitcoin. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin, and they're not even all mined yet. So what we're seeing is we could possibly see a supply crunch where the amount of Bitcoin available versus the demand for that Bitcoin is going to drive the prices up heavily. So let's take a look at this. We're seeing CryptoQuant suggest that Bitcoin's price could touch $112,000 this year if the current trend of inflows related to spot exchange traded funds continues. On-chain data provider has said this. So they've said on Twitter, the worst case for Bitcoin was at least $55,000, or a nearly 15% bump from Monday's prices. The targets were made based on the effect of inflows on Bitcoin's market cap and a metric ratio that has historically indicated if prices were overvalued or undervalued. So you can take a look at this here. In fact, let's open up this tweet so we can see it in a little bit more detail, and we can take a look at this chart. Right now we've got 31 people on today's stream. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, press the bell notification button. It really helps the channel grow, so I very much appreciate that. Let's take a look here. So what we could see is Bitcoin could reach $112,000 this year, driven by ETF inflows. Worst case scenario, $55,000, which is still up another 10% from where we are. We should not be greedy here. Having a nice floor price here is important. What we can see here is they're looking at basically the channel between this green line here and this ceiling price here, and they're saying, look, by the end of the year, that's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking at. $112,000 could be a likely scenario according to the data. So Bitcoin market cap has seen $9.5 billion in spot ETF inflows per month, potentially boosting the realized cap by $114 billion yearly. Even with the GBTC outflows, a $76 billion rise could elevate the realized cap from $451 billion to around $527 to $565. So they cited a ratio tracking Bitcoin's market cap to realized cap, a measure of active tokens at their last traded price, as potentially marking a top for Bitcoin at the $104,000 to $112,000 mark. The ratio would reach 3.9 at those prices, a level that is historically marked a price top. So if we take a look at this, we can see here that the realized cap is here, and it has historically created a top at that point there. Now, if we continue on here, we can see historically Bitcoin market bottoms occur at an MVRV of 0.75 and tops at 3.9. With the current spot ETF inflow trends, the top price could reach $104,000 to $112,000. Without hype maintaining the current level of 2.04, the price would be between $55,000 and $59,000. So essentially what we've seen throughout that article there is Could Bitcoin reach $112,000? Well, we've got the inflows from spot Bitcoin ETFs, and if those rates continue and the demand there continues, we could be looking at these higher prices. Now, I'm sure we would all love to see a six-figure Bitcoin. Let's take a look at the price of Bitcoin here and take a look at the 4-year cycles and see if this is possible, because I was speaking about this on Friday's stream when we were seeing another analyst say $88,000 Bitcoin was probable for this year. And I would like to take a look at this because I am very much of the opinion, which you all know by now, of the fact that the trend is your friend until the end, and we should never ever just, well, we can sometimes hope that the trend is breaking, but I don't choose to trade against the trend very frequently, especially when it comes to these 4-year cycles. You can see the clear cycles that we have here. Halving, bull market, bear market, halving, bull market, bear market, halving, bull market, bear market. I mean, it's pretty clear here what these cycles are doing. Every time the inflation rate for Bitcoin is halved on that Bitcoin halving, we do typically see a bull market. Now, if we take a look at what's happened here, there's lots of things to consider here. First of all, if we take a look at the distance between a Bitcoin halving to the peak of the following bull market, we're looking at 357 days there, we're looking at 532 days there, and we're looking at 560 days there. So the bull markets are actually getting longer over time. I suppose it depends whether you count May or November as the bull market top for 2021, but if we're looking at around that 560 day point, if we take a look from between the last two previous cycles, we are looking at around September next year, if we get this right, October, November next year, in fact. No, 530, here we go. October next year. September, October is when we're really looking at it to be kind of the same sort of time period for Bitcoin to experience that upwards volatility. So let's put a line in there and let's change the color so we're not confused on what's happening here. Change the color. We'll put that to white. So that's what we're seeing there. Now, another thing I like to look at when we're looking at these charts is the amount, the time it takes for Bitcoin to reach a new all-time high post-halving. So the all-time high for that bull market was in November 2023. That's the figure we've just looked at. So we're pulling that all out together. Now, another thing I want to take a look at is how long it takes for Bitcoin to create a new all-time high. So I want to put horizontal points here. I know this is looking confusing, but I'm hoping it makes sense for you guys. What we're seeing here is, after this second halving, how long did it take for Bitcoin to make a new all-time high? Well, here we're looking at 518 days. If we take a look at the next one, again, we're looking at around the same period, 546 days. So if we take a medium here, let's say 530, and we see how long this will take, we're looking at, if the pattern were to repeat when it comes to this data. No, wait, am I picking the right data here? Let me see. Am I picking the right data? I've just picked the same data again. No, what we're looking for is to see the new all-time high. Sorry, let's do that again. So after the second halving, to create a new all-time high, it took us, here we go. This is what we're looking for. 230 days. So that is the distance between the halving and Bitcoin creating a new all-time high. 230 days. If we look at the next halving and we go from the halving to when we saw a new all-time high, we are looking at 210 days. So if we put the same information here and we do 210 days, you can see that we are looking at, if the trend were to repeat, around this period here, start of December, end of November, for Bitcoin to create a new all-time high. So that's what we've seen here. This is around the time period that it takes between halving and reaching that new all-time high every cycle. So I know this looks really confusing right now, but I hope that makes sense. If we were going off previous data here and we take a look here, we're saying, look, it wouldn't be incorrect to see the price make a new all-time high at this point right here. So let's change the color of that again, because we've got a lot of the same colors going on here. So with this in mind, I'm looking at this chart with a lot of interest right now, because if we're going to be creating a new all-time high by the end of this year, how much more sideways action can we see? Well, right now we're seeing a new week. The weekly chart looks really, really strong. The weekly chart looks really, really nice. We do have that Bitcoin halving, which historically, if we take a look, has been a bearish week. These are the yellow lines that we're looking at. Has been kind of a bearish period for the markets, especially following those halvings. So we could expect a little bit of downward momentum there, but I think following that Bitcoin halving, historically, we all know we do usually see a nice run to the upside, even steeper than this on occasion. I mean, look at that upwards momentum. If we take that kind of steepness and put it here, it looks pretty nice. It looks pretty nice. So I think there is certainly possibility that we could be creating a new all-time high towards the end of this year. That would take us up to $70,000. Could we be reaching that $112,000 price prediction from CryptoQuant? I do still think this is an option. I am trying to stay in line with the trends and look at the time periods between the trends. I always say to everybody when I'm looking at the prices, I'm not making a bull market price prediction. I'm looking at the time periods. I always work off time periods. I'm saying, look, Bitcoin halving is here. We probably will see a bull market for 18 months because that's typically what we see. And we probably will see a new all-time high around the end of the year because that's typically how long it takes for Bitcoin to retrace back up to those higher points. So if we're looking at the history and the trends, this is what the chart suggests. It's not a definite, it's not certain. Obviously, Bitcoin likes to do what we least expect, and it likes to throw some spanners in the works from time to time. But if we were looking at the previous trends, this is what it suggests. So in the meantime, I'm just dollar cost averaging in, dollar cost averaging out, and trying to put the pieces together, put the jigsaw pieces together and really see what the most possible scenario is. And that's all we can do here. So what I'm looking at here is, Bitcoin has the potential to be creating new all-time highs towards the end of this year if it were to continue the previous kind of trends. Could we then soar up to $112,000 within the same year? I'm not usually bearish, but I would like to say it would break the trend a little bit. So I'm cautious of that price point for this year. I think it's definitely possible for next year, but it is still possible. We've got these ETFs. We've never had ETFs before in the market, spot Bitcoin ETFs anyway. So, there's a huge amount of potentials here. We're seeing a huge amount of inflows. They are making these price predictions, not just out of thin air, but actually by looking at the data and projecting that data forwards. This is kind of on the assumption that the demand continues and these ETFs continue to see this amount of inflows, etc. And there are definitely possibilities there. I always work off the basis that this time isn't different, but in the back of my mind, I do like to think these ETFs could really change the game for Bitcoin. So they are super bullish products. We may see even more bullish momentum that we have in previous cycles. That would be brilliant to see. I'm trying to keep my cool head on and say, look, follow the trends. If we're even more bullish than that, brilliant. That's the mentality that I'm building for myself right now. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Bina says, but if it goes down to $46,000, shouldn't we short to $39,000? I really don't think it will go down, or it would go to $39,000. But if it does, shouldn't we go short after 46,000? It's broken. There's a lot of numbers in there. First of all, I'm not going to tell you when to short and when to long, especially not when to short, because I do not like to short Bitcoin at all. Why trade against the asset that you're so bullish on? It's so much more of an emotional position. I always say this when I'm on these streams. I always try and make a position that is going to make me the least amount help me feel the least amount of emotion when it comes to Bitcoin. I don't want to see the markets go down. I don't want to see Bitcoin go down 30% and start to sweat. I don't want to see Bitcoin and the altcoins all crash and be going, well, I don't actually want that altcoin. I don't actually want that altcoin. I don't believe in any of these tokens. Dump them all into the 30% drop and then see them all rally again. I don't want to feel emotional in my position, so I'm always doing the best I can to feel confident in my portfolio. Now, if I'm shorting Bitcoin and the price goes up, I'm not confident in that. I'm a full-time bull when it comes to Bitcoin. So I don't short. I will close long positions if I think it is time for a pullback. I personally don't short very frequently unless the charts are literally begging me to take the opportunity. So what we can see here is Bitcoin, yes, it does have the potential to see 30 to 20% drops in bull markets. So I'm not saying it's out of the question. And we are at a period of time prior to that Bitcoin halving where we could see some bearish momentum, because that's what we've seen seen in previous trends. If we take a look at what's going on the daily chart, it could be that we are getting to experience some sort of double top here and see a bit of a bearish run. I wouldn't be surprised if we did see some bearish momentum coming here, but it's definitely not something that I am counting on. I think that people that have been here in the markets right now have been here throughout the bear market. We've seen incredibly low prices. I've been trying to take advantage of them as much as possible so that when this time is now this is happening, I don't need to count on the fact that Bitcoin can go lower so I can buy more. I'm just dollar cost averaging in, dollar cost averaging out all of the way. And that's one of the perks of being in the market at this point in time. And for the last couple of months, we've seen Bitcoin at really low levels and we've already seen some really bullish momentum. So we can continue just to adjust our position as the time goes. Let's see what's going on with the news today though, because we've done a lot of Bitcoin analysis there. We've not yet discussed today's news. We're already 26 minutes into today's stream. This is a news show. Let's see what's going on here. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. First, we've done a few articles here, to be fair. First article I want to discuss here is Grayscale is saying Bitcoin is stronger ahead of halving. So spot Bitcoin ETFs have amassed more than 192,000 Bitcoin in holdings as of Friday since their launch nearly a month ago. So the technical fundamentals of Bitcoin and use cases has significantly increased in the past year and likely made the asset stronger ahead of its historically bullish halving event compared to previous years, crypto asset manager Grayscale said in a research note. So they've said, despite minor revenue changes in the short term, fundamental on-chain activity and positive market structure updates make this halving different on a fundamental level. While it has long been heralded as digital gold, recent developments suggest that Bitcoin is evolving into something even more significant. So we all know the Bitcoin halving is going to mean that miners will receive half the amount of Bitcoin per block than they are right now. So right now they receive 6.25 Bitcoin per block they mine and add to the blockchain. After April, they will only receive 3.125. In fact, we actually reached 200,000 blocks since the previous halving over the weekend. And it's every 210,000 blocks that we see the halving. So we're in that last 10,000 block chain before we reach the halving right now, getting closer and closer to that event. Those of us that aren't miners see this as a brilliant opportunity. Those of us that are miners see this as half of our revenue getting cut. But there is obviously the potential there for the bull market to make up those losses when it comes to the value of their Bitcoin. But we can see here the ordinals bump fundamentals here. So they stated that the event of ordinal inscriptions and BRC20 tokens had revitalized on-chain activity on Bitcoin, generating upwards of $200 million in transaction fees for miners as of February this year. This trend is expected to persist, bolstered by renewed developer interest and ongoing innovations in the Bitcoin blockchain. So this is a positive way to look at this. BRC20s have created some concerns for Bitcoin bulls here, and saying, look, we're creating congestion on the network. Bitcoin should be left alone as a peer-to-peer payment system. But if we look at the positives here, the activity is increasing, and that is nice to see. Let's take a look. Let's continue through here. BRC20 standard was introduced in April to allow users to issue transferable tokens directly through the network for the first time. The tokens, called inscriptions, function on the ordinals protocol. During times of network demand, fees derived from ordinals, they consisted of over 20% of monthly revenue for miners, emerging as a new source of income, one of the network's most important stakeholders. And we are seeing here, as well as we've discussed many times now, the demand from the Bitcoin ETFs having an effect on Bitcoin here and making Bitcoin look incredibly strong. Well, we've not really seen a price rally like this prior to the Bitcoin halving many times before. If we take a look here, BTC USDT. If we take a look at the Bitcoin halvings, these yellow lines here, you can see prior to the previous halving, we obviously had that event where we were all locked inside. So that's a bit of an anomaly, a bit of a black swan event. But if you take a look at the days prior to a Bitcoin halving, typically super bearish there. I mean, that is a dump on the days prior to the Bitcoin halving in the third dump of almost 20% there. So definitely something to consider. I think all of this prior action is a bit of an anomaly. So let's move on to the next one here. If we take a look at the second halving, you can see that on the days running up to the Bitcoin halving in the, how many days before this? In the 21 days prior to the Bitcoin halving, we saw a 30% dip. So this is the event that I'm really being cautious of right now. Definitely something to be aware of. We were actually seeing a nice rally up before that, and then we saw that dump. If we take a look similarly at what happened the time before, if we zoom into this very small price data here, you can see the days before were bearish, a couple of weeks before were bearish. We did see a small run up there. So we just need to be cautious at this point in time that, yeah, we are still 2 months away from the Bitcoin halving, and we may be doing a nice run up here, but we need to be cautious that when that event does finally arrive, that historically it's not been super bullish in the short term, but super bullish in the long term. Let's see what else is going on in the crypto news here today. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button. We've got 27 likes on today's stream, and we've got 38 people viewing us on YouTube, so please make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification button. Let's try and get to that 40 like goal before we end today's stream. Let's see what else is going on here. So over 92% of Bitcoin supply is now profitable as prices soar past $47,000. That is a huge point to consider here. So over 92.5% of its circulating supply is now in profit. The figure represents the percentage of existing coins whose price at their last movement was lower than the current price. So what they're doing here is essentially looking on chain and seeing when Bitcoin was last moved from one wallet to another and taking that as the buying point for its holders. And if the price of Bitcoin is higher than the price at that transaction's time, they're obviously in profit. And we can see that 92.5% are in profit. Now, this is brilliant. This is really nice to see. We're seeing people being rewarded for investing into Bitcoin, but it does ring some alarm bells a little bit, because could this mean that people are starting to want to take profit? We can see here that when over 95% of Bitcoin supply was in profit, it has typically indicated a local top in the price. The last instance was in November 2021 when we reached an all-time high. So definitely something to consider here. Less than 50% of its supply was in profit when FTX collapsed in November 2022 and in March 2020. So we need to be cautious here. This has historically indicated that we are seeing a local top. Just trying to balance out the news here. We've got some really bullish data here and really bearish data here. So we need to take it all into consideration and don't just choose to make decisions based off one factor or another. I think that's really important. Let's continue what's going on here. Long-term Bitcoin holder sell-off could face signal more price increases. So let's take a look at here. Bitcoin market forces are demonstrating an intriguing trend. The cohort of Bitcoin holders who have kept their Bitcoin for over a year, also known as the supply last active 1 year plus, reached an all-time high of approximately 71% in November 2023. As the general principle, these holders tend to acquire Bitcoin during bear markets when prices are low, hold on to it until prices rise. As the market transitions into a bullish phase, this cohort starts liquidating their Bitcoin assets, garnering profits from their initial low-cost purchases. So these people may be choosing to move from Bitcoin into the different altcoins. This trend appears to confirm itself as Bitcoin recently soared to $46,000. And the SLA 1 year plus supply has dipped by over 1% from its peak to 69.2%. So you can see this on this chart here clearly. We are looking at this red line here. It has dipped as Bitcoin has had that initial rally there. People have been holding on to Bitcoin for over a year, are looking to take some profits here, potentially looking to add some altcoins to take more advantage of the bull market essentially. But Let's continue on with the next article here. Let's move on from Bitcoin now, because we've seen some bullish, we've seen some bearish news, and we need to keep a level head when we're looking at all this. We've been through the levels of support and resistance, but we will be analysing the price of Bitcoin quickly again at the end of today's stream. We'll take a look at Ethereum and we'll take a look at some altcoins as well. So drop any questions or altcoins you'd like to look at in the chat today. We're on 28 likes. Let's try and hit that 40 like goal by the end of today's stream. What have we got here? So the Ethereum validator entry queue signals renewed interest in staking. The validator entry queue has jumped to 7,045, the highest since October the 6th, according to data source validator queue. So what we're seeing here is the interest for staking has increased. And this is brilliant brilliant to see. Stakers support the network. The waitlist for new Ethereum validators is now the longest since early October. The renewed interest in staking is noteworthy as the yield on staked Ether remains below 4%. So Ethereum network is witnessing the spike in the number of validators looking to stake their Ethereum. What does this mean? Well, when people are looking to stake their Ethereum, they're looking to be with the outlook that they are going to be a long-term holder, and they're looking to gain interest on their holding. So the more Ethereum we stake, the more support the network is getting, and the more secure we can be as an investor that people are in this for the long run. Let's continue on to the next article here, because one investor has lost 100 Ethereum worth of NFTs from exploited sites. So the individual suffered a serious portfolio loss due to a lapse in concentration. On Sunday, an NFT investor alerted the industry to an alleged exploit that led to the loss of 70 to 100 ETH worth of digital assets. So they said, today is probably one of the worst days in my life in the crypto space since 2017. My wallet was drained, all of my NFTs were stolen and sold on Blur with an estimated value of 70 to 100 ETH depending on rarity. So how this happened was 1 month ago, they purchased an NFT by Refik Anadol, who they described as a renowned artist. And then they noted that on Saturday, they received a message from somebody on Twitter asking about a physical copy of the NFT. Now, after the message, they decided to check if the NFT qualified for a physical copy and if they could claim it. And they stated they had good security practices and always used verified sources before connecting their wallet, as they never click on links from Google searched or email messages. So they went to the official Anadol X profile to obtain the link to the artist's official website. They then clicked a button for digital collections, which redirected them to a separate site. After logging into the site, I saw the option to connect my wallet, so I did. Again, I want to emphasize that this was the official website. After that, I was asked to sign a message to log in, which is standard practice on all NFT collection websites when you connect your wallet. But after signing in, an error popped up stating request denied. Instead of questioning why it had failed, it suffered a lapse in concentration due to them conducting the process shortly after waking up. So within the next 10 seconds, all of my NFTs were transferred to the hacker's address. They have made the one address public here, so we can take a look at that, and the hacker's address public as well. So an easy mistake to make here. They have said that Anadol had contacted them regarding the loss of the assets, and their once 70 to 100 ETH worth of NFTs were calculated to be worth roughly 48.53 ETH today. They stated the hacker managed to sell the NFTs for 29.5 ETH on Blur offers. So what we're seeing here is they've lost their NFTs, and the general out point here for this article is just try and be incredibly careful in this space, as I know it's exceptionally hard when we're even fighting against the links on official websites being incorrect. We need to be really cautious about who we are talking to. We really need to be cautious on what links we are using, how we are finding these links. If we are going on Google, do not click any advert links, choose the official links, check the URLs multiple times, only use networks and protocols that you trust. Make sure to do your due diligence completely every single time. And if you are connecting your wallet to a platform, make sure that you have done all of your due diligence correctly. Also, make sure that you do not have a huge percentage of your portfolio into a wallet that you are connecting onto many different networks. If you're connecting your MetaMask to 10 different platforms, you don't want to be holding all of your funds into that platform. Every time you connect your wallet to a different platform, you are taking on risk, and we don't want to take on that risk. We are here for self-custody, and we are here to be our own bank, so we need to take on the responsibility of being secure. If you have a wallet and you have one NFT that you want to check, maybe just make sure that there's only that NFT in there to isolate the issue. Don't have a bunch of NFTs in that wallet, because every time you're connecting, you are taking on a risk. So just be careful, do your due diligence. When it comes to security, make sure that you don't put all of your funds in one place, because you are putting yourself at risk in that scenario. Terrible to see these stories over and over again in this space. It is definitely something that we need to be improving. Let's take a look. Crypto Cody says, hello, love the show. Thank you very much. Bina says, this is why I follow you, Jess. I need to recharge myself every day. Thanks. Thank you very much for that. And Monkey Nut says, hit the like button and Bitcoin goes up. I completely agree. I think there's a clear correlation there. The more likes we get here, the more Bitcoin goes up. I'm pretty sure of it. So please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Let's see what else is going on here. So the court orders Elon Musk to testify in an SEC SEC inquiry over Twitter acquisition. So the SEC is investigating whether Musk violated federal securities law during his 2022 Twitter purchase. So Elon Musk has been compelled to testify in a US SEC inquiry regarding his acquisition of Twitter. So the judge has upheld the SEC's authority in the matter, affirming that the subpoena aimed to gather pertinent information of the investigation. The court grants the SEC's motion to enforce the subpoena. It seeks relevant information and it is otherwise valid. So we will be seeing that within the next couple of weeks, I'm sure. Let's see what else is going on here. Joe Biden's Twitter account posts laser eyes image. The president of the US made an unexpected Twitter post here. So just like we drew it up along with the image of the president with the famous red laser eyes. Let's take a look at this. Just like we drew it up. And then laser eyes. I mean, does he knows what laser eyes mean? Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this article further. So this was at 3:50 UTC time on Monday. The true meaning behind the post is still being determined at the time of writing. However, laser eyes has become a trademark for Bitcoin bulls to show their maximalism to the asset. Whether Biden has become a Bitcoin holder remains to be seen, but the image has questioned what else could be the reading behind it. The co-founder of Taproot Wizards replied to the president's post saying, "Another really sharp individual joins the laser eye army." His post appears tongue-in-cheek, suggesting the post is about Bitcoin and throws shade at the laser eyes trademark. So the question is, was this a hack or a genuine post? Well, Twitter, the Elon Musk parody X account stated, I thought this was a parody account, but nope, it's the president of the United States. At the time of writing, there was no suggestion that the post was due to a hack. I mean, if it was, the post would have been taken down right now. It's been up for a very long time right now. Let's take a look at this. It was posted on today at 3:50 a.m. So it's been up for what? 9 hours? 8 hours? This is just strange. This is just weird. We all know that laser eyes are a signal for a Bitcoin maximalist. Michael Saylor has laser eyes. I don't know if he's still got them on his profile picture, but surely this means something. Why would you put laser eyes on yourself for no reason? Interesting choice. I'm interested to see what this means. Hopefully we'll see more news on this in the next couple of days here. Last article here. I thought we'd pull this one up. How does MicroStrategy buy the Bitcoin? If you are interested in this, I will drop the link to this in the live chat for the day. Also, if you want to join Crypto Saving Expert Discord group, make sure to go to cryptosavingexpert.com, press join CSE Plus, and learn how to get access to all of the brilliant things in Crypto Saving Expert, and join our Discord channel because we have lots of discussions there about what's going on in the cryptocurrency space. Now, before we close off today's stream, we've already spoke about Bitcoin. Let's take a look at Ethereum quickly here. So Ethereum is yet again being outperformed by Bitcoin on the daily chart. Bitcoin is on a rally. Ethereum, not so much. If we take a look at the ETH USD chart, you can see we have had a rally, but it's just not being as strong as Bitcoin's right now. Again, Ethereum is seeing a pullback just like Bitcoin is. I did get a notification over the weekend saying Chainlink was up another 10%. This is still rallying since it was down at $13.75 just 17 days ago. It is now up 50% in 17 days. That is absolutely insane for Chainlink. If we take a look at Link BTC, it has been outperforming Bitcoin here as well within the last couple of days on an absolute tear to the upside. Let's see what else is going on in the charts. Let's take a look at Polkadot here quickly. Polkadot having a little bit of a pullback as well. Not seeing super high prices just yet. This is at it's not even at its highs since the ETF since December. So maybe DOT is lagging a little bit here. In fact, let's take a look at Polkadot. There's Bitcoin here. Bitcoin's been massively outperforming Polkadot within the last couple of weeks. That makes me interested. I like to see the chart like this. Seeing Chainlink's chart is amazing, but I like to see the charts like this when I'm not diversified enough, because you all know I'm trying to diversify a little bit more. Chainlink pumping is making it hard for me because I really want to accumulate some more. Let's take a look at what else we have here. Let's take a look at Solana quickly. Solana is having a similar chart to what's going on with Ethereum there. Had a nice rally, having a little bit of a pullback. If we take a look at what's going on compared to Bitcoin, kind of mediocre there. Solana Solana community's pulled it through after seeing it go down last week. It's like it never happened. Let's take a look at what's going on here. ETH USDT. Let's do a little bit of analysis here before we close off today's stream. So if we go to the 4-hour chart, I mean, Ethereum's experienced extreme amounts of volatility here. I think the daily chart may be better here. So we can see that we have a level that runs right along here. So this is used as a level of resistance previously and as support numerous times. This is at $2,247. We have some levels of horizontal support here as well. I think this is a key level there, and I think that could even reach up to here to be aware of that zone there, 2,395. We have a level of previous support at $2,470. We are currently above that and bouncing that, it seems, on the lower time frame. So keeping an eye on that. Interesting price points right now. But Ethereum is currently being outperformed by Bitcoin. I see this chart starting to bottom out at some point soon. Who knows when, but some point soon, I imagine, because high cap coins are really beginning to get their time to shine. And I really would like to see Ethereum perform well too. But I think that is all we have for today's stream. So thank you very much for tuning in as always. I very much appreciate you all tuning in. I will drop the link to Crypto Saving Experts page in the live chat right now. So make sure to check that out. That's all we have for today's stream. Thank you very much for tuning in as always. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will be back here tomorrow with another cryptocurrency